me, it's a real pleasure today to introduce Nestor Gavilan. Nestor Gavilan is a thinker, Nestor Gavilan is a practitioner, Nestor Gavilan is a doer, and from a lot of things that Nestor do is, for example, books. And today we're going to introduce you with a new book that I think that the title is an spoiler, Nestor, because
Yeah.
it's Managing Without Problems. So it's
Yeah.
problems without problems, and both of them are very, very, very important. So first, Nestor, one question: why this book?
Thank you, Riol, for the introduction and for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here on this great event. Why I decided to do this? Basically, let me say, as you know, and you introduced more than 35 years training people and training technicians. What it has been very good, I think, because this is people at the end that is able to manage the tools, the lean tools that we all know, and we know that they are really good. But at the end, sometimes I feel a little bit bad, no? When they came back to the work and they write us some emails saying, you know what, I love what we saw in the classes and what you teach us and everything, but at the end, my boss is not understanding at all what it is about, no? So I decided to start to think this combining with the experience that we were getting in different projects, make some reflection on how can we provide some method or some, let me say, some methodology at the end of the leaders of transformation that wants to really proceed to a real change, no? And this is why I decided to start to write this book with the experience that we were doing, and well, and this is I also did that because I love to do that. And Roberto Priolo, that helped me a lot in this book, also helped me a lot. So this book,
But this is your second book. So
yes.
I'm not very good with books. I see the color in the difference in the in the cover. But what is the difference from your previous book?
Well, aside the color, because one is orange, the other is blue. No, the first one was more related, let me say, to experience that I had in a big project that I decided to write a gap analysis process to really help the organizations to get focus on which were the problems to solve. So I started in this book explaining like KPIs, gap analysis, and everything. But this new is more about some practices that I think that could help the leaders, let me say, of organization to start to really provide help to the organization and really structure properly on a lean transformation. That's the main
Okay,
difference.
let's take a look inside the book. So probably this will make an insight on how to solve problems without problems, and also the book itself. So how is structured this book?
The book, mainly, let me say, the first part of the book is about to structure a little bit the problem statement, to give like a background of the problem, that why we decided to do this. So you will see that there is a research work there that we did with Carolina Consolación here in the university. And it gave us a lot of, let me say, of pain points that the transformation we're having. And also in this first part, we talk a lot about different models that the main authors, let me say, are proposing. This is explaining more or less a little bit of context, let me say, in the first part. The second part is where we deep dive into the practices. Let me say, I propose like 6 practices that we will see later a little bit, which are they. And on there, we give like tips, but also examples, and that's what we try to provide on the second part. So we love to do, as you mentioned. So I am really a believer of doing things is the way that you really learn. And this is why we try to provide method. So this is in the second part of the book. And the third part, and I would like to thank to the different cases that we have been working. In fact, you are part of some of these examples, Uriel. So there are some cases, real cases, that provides a little flavor on how the different cases adopted the different practices. So this is the structure, more or less, that you can find inside.
So in a way, we can see that this book has a thinking part, has a practice part, and then has a working part. So we have these three of them.
So,
Now probably it's time to go to understand a little overview of this first part, where you, as you said, you structure the framework of this thinking, you put all the different, let's say, aspects, subjects that we need to take in account before of the managing without problems.
Exactly. So in the first part of the book, as I
So
mentioned,
take us a little.
yeah, in the first part of the book, this is what I mentioned before. So we did a strong, let me say, a good exercise of deep diving on the literature research and authors, different authors trying to deep dive on which were the main reasons. The paper is done, is in the book, is mentioned there. And these were some of the conclusions that we arrived. So we arrived to like 27 points that were mentioned there, but the most important ones you can see listed here, and I'm sure that the audience is familiar with most of them or some of them. And just this is providing like some help to start to think on, okay, if you want to do this, if you want to really transform or to lean, what do you need to consider? So those are like barriers, no? Some of to have a clear purpose of why do we want to do lean, no? Let me say to and how much the organization knows about why the organization has decided to go this way, no? Understanding of methodology. Sometimes we see a lot of organizations that say, "Okay, we want to do this, but okay, who knows how to manage that?" No, short-term thinking, see lean as an extra work. So many of the points that are mentioned here, and that with the models that we provide or the methods that we provide, we try to provide some pain relievers to this part, no? So this is more or less the part that I mentioned it before. So this is the problem statement part. Then also in the book that I would like to thanks as well John Shook that did the foreword of the book with Luis Cuatro Casas that also did the second foreword. So what I do in the first part is also to give a flavor of what I understood on the lean transformation framework. So through the different applications that I did in the different companies, my interpretation of the LTF, no, of the lean transformation framework, that you can find it in YouTube and maybe many of you know. So I give like my interpretation of that and how to approach to the lean transformation framework. And also I mentioned some of other frameworks that at the end those are guidelines that helps you to implement lean, no? And one topic that I cover also in this first part of the book is something that we got from experience, that was okay, when I want to do this, how can I at the end combine the short-term thinking? So it's true that I need to start with a lean transformation. So this is an article that we also did in Planet Lean that give you an idea on when you are starting at the very beginning of the journey, as you can see here. So you have to make some differences between solve problems that you need to do it now, let me say, with a real transformation. So we strongly recommend in the book to start by a pilot. That many of the companies, one of the mistakes that I see is that they start from a pilot that is very important to the business, and something that I mentioned in the book. Don't try to put something very important on this pilot, because at the end, when you will have an urgency, you know what will happen, no? So also I talk a little bit on that. So how to combine the short term with the long term methodology. That this is something that after some years of application, it has helped us a lot. Okay, so this is what we cover in the.
So Nestor, you have said a lot of things in less than 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
but of course, we cannot compress all the book in just one talk. But I think what is important is that a lot of managers say, okay, I want something easy to manage. Give me tips, give me clues. And well, this is not how it works. So manage is not so easy. So we need to understand the managing. And I think this fifth chapter is about that, understanding the managing. So because without a deep understanding on what you are going to manage, how are you going to manage, and why even are you going to manage that, it's impossible to manage. Okay, so I think that all these different frameworks, all these different thinkings that is comprised in the third chapter are super important.
Yeah.
But of course, just with the thinking, we are not going to advance. And I think that the second chapter is key in this book, because I think that you propose 6 practices that comes to the rescue to all these people that is stuck on just thinking and how to move that to practice. And to practice, this is very important in managing.
Exactly, exactly. You hit the point at the end. After this awareness that you were saying, no, about management and barriers and considerations to have, we enter into this second part, as you mentioned, that are the tools, no? Let me say. And this is what we try to provide on this chapter, that is not only give the theoretical explanation, not only what is, let me say, is how to, okay? It's also provide a method for each of the practices or the different pieces that you can see at the top of the slide. Also, I share some key learnings that we have obtained from the applications, from the real applications. So some key learnings to be considered at the end, because as John mentioned there is not a perfect road to implement this. So you have to find your own way, but some key learnings or tips that can provide some help to the reader. And finally, an exercise. So sorry for that, but the only way to confirm understanding is practicing. So you have to implement this do part where we suggest some exercises that will help you to fully understand the full picture. No?
Nestor, I cannot wait. Tell me about the 6 practices.
Okay, okay, Yorel. So those are the 6 practices, as you can see in the screen. So we start by Hoshin Kanri. So first, we start by for that. Let me say at the end is so important. When we started to work with the Hoshin, uh, it was like something very complex. It looks like something. It looked like very complex to implement, no? And at the end, we started to work with our colleagues of LGN of the Link Global Network. We started to work in try to find an easy methodology to approach to the real deployment of this strategy into the organization. So how to deploy, let me say, to all levels, the goals that we are trying to achieve, the strategy, and how also through some mechanism, try to find a way that the organization is able to contribute to this strategy. So I think that the book proposes a very nice methodology, very tested methodology that has been applied to many businesses, as you will see in some of the cases. And that's it. Let me say, this is what we try to provide. So it will force you to do the exercise to really practice and get the comprehension. This is the first tool, the first practice or tool that we propose to really have a well-implemented Hoshin Kanri. The second one is about visual management. So again, and you know that, Uriel, very well, because you helped me on this chapter with the beautiful work that I saw in the Tenerife and Dream Hotels exercise that you did with the team. I was really amazed first time that I went there. How you link, let me say, how the team linked the needs of what do they need to monitor in daily, weekly, monthly basis, and how they were able to see the deviations of the processes and how to let me say to readdress them, no? And we propose just this. So based on the value streams of the businesses, the main processes, etc. So try to link one thing with the other. What is important to see and how can we see them on the visual management? That at the end is what we have always say, no? That this is something that needs to talk to you what is not going well. The third part is about the leader standard work, very related to the previous one, but once you have the visual management implemented properly to easy to see the key points to manage the processes, the business processes, the next thing is to install some routines. So at the end, we know that the frontline work is easy or can be standardized. Everybody starts to have clear that this can be done, but also leader work, of course, can be standardized to set some routines that help the organization to be efficient at the end, no? And to make people understand where they can talk about some problem or where the problems will be managed, as I told you, in daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So this is the third part of the work. Then we also do the A3 coaching chapter, that this is totally different to the, let me say, to the very good books that already exist, Managing to Learn, and those books that explain how to make an A3. But this is more based on we did a research exercise with some of our students and people that were applying that on real world, let me say. And we get a lot of knowledge and experience on which were the main mistakes or the common mistakes that people were doing while doing A3s. So in this chapter, we explain that some tips that you should avoid and will help you to be a good coach on the A3s. That is the role in that case. We will not be necessarily doers of A3, but we will be more coaching and developing people through the A3 exercise. In the fifth practice, we give the Kata. So we explain a lot on why Kata and how it can help not only to solve issues towards a clear vision, but also provide a good tool to develop people, to put mentality of measurement, to understand gap, to understand how to put action, really focus on the main issues, to reflect, and obviously to how to manage a way to manage the knowledge, no, and the experience that you obtain from each change that you do in the process. And finally, what we have been working since 7-8 years ago, more or less, is to try to get a lean leadership, some characteristics, some skills that we have worked in this chapter with Eva Fernandez, that has been helping me a lot in the last years, trying to provide to the community like 18 characteristics that can be clusterized or classified in those that you see here, in vision and making things happen, flow thinking, problem solving, and development. And that can help, let me say, to assess at the end. Let me say, we give like some questions that helps you to auto-assess or assess others, let me say, or assess teams, or you can use that to see weaknesses and at the end try to improve. That is the key, I think. So this is what the second chapter is about. Let me say, is about how to practice.
That's amazing, because to clearly identify 6 practices and how to apply this managing, okay, it's impressive. So congratulations, Nestor, because this helps. I think that this comes to rescue to many managers, including me, myself. And I think that now, okay, let's put it in practice, because we learn with examples. When we see examples, we understand things. And I think that this is a very good point in this book. You will not only make, let's say, the blah, blah, blah chat of thinking, which is very good because we need to understand the framework. Not only you translated that to 6 practices that we can apply, that every manager should apply in order to manage without problems, but you give us a set of examples, of real examples, and how they have applied these 6 challenges. And I think that this is very good to explain these 6 practices, how to understand the application of these 6 practices. Can you give us a little overview of these examples?
Yeah, that's the key, let me say. At the end, I would like to thank first of all to those all those businesses that has provide this help, let me say, at the end, because we need experience. And thanks to them, we have experienced it and we have obtained many learnings that we have been able to put into paper. So really thanks to them. So here you can see the different companies. We have been trying to do to apply them into different sectors, just to try, because at the end, when we talk about management, it's not that you are so special. It was curious to see, Uriel, how we sometimes mix people from R&D with people from hospitals, and they were able to talk and to share, and that's a wonderful thing. And this confirmed that at the end, this methodology is really this cross fertilization that we always say is really a reality.
Just 3 examples. Last week was the Lean Day in one of these cases, which hospital. So it was amazing. A room full of people from the healthcare and non-healthcare industry there. Yesterday, we have the Lean Day of Idilia. Tomorrow, we're going to have them, that it's industry, but they do it in the headquarters. So yes, this globalization rocks.
Exactly, especially when we talk about management and everything. So we really thank. I think that's the more rich part of the book. Maybe is how they really apply the tool, but with some particularities due to the sector. But I think that's the best way to learn from others. No, let me say so. This is what we explain in the third part of the book.
Okay, excellent. We have just few minutes, Nestor, and I will encourage people to make some questions. We will try to have 4 or 5 minutes of questions. I'm going to try to moderate that. So you find the question and answers button just below, or for all of those that you are using Zoom. You can make some questions there. We're going to try to answer some of them. But Nestor, you said that there are 3 parts in the book, and I was just taking a look and I found a surprise. Is this a possible that there is a 4th part?
Yeah, yeah, Oriol. This is the present. Let me say what's a surprise.
Okay, this is an Easter egg. Okay.
Um, when we were writing that with
A
Roberto,
very good present. This is a very good present.
it's a very good present. I think it's a real good present. Roberto suggests me to Magic Roberto, I call him because it's amazing what he do. He was suggesting me to do like, okay, why don't we think in a way that people can assess, let me say, where are they on those practices? Because many companies that we visit, they are already in the journey, so they are already transforming that, but they would like to auto-assess. So in the 4th chapter, we are delivering some questions, some key questions that you need to answer to make you to reflect on where are you, let me say, on this journey of these 6 practices. If you are in a mature level or where are you, helps you to understand where are you. And also we provide this assessment that I told you of the 18 characteristics, no, of leadership. So this is what we also provide. This is a way to improve, let me say. This should connect with your plans of PDCA, how to improve your businesses, how to be better each time, how to learn from experience, and every day improve and improve and improve through the practice. No, so this is what I wanted also to mention. I think it's a good way to start the book. Maybe it's the chapter 4, just to understand where you are and understand more about the book. But you can decide, let me say, how to approach it.
Okay, excellent, Nestor. So I think that the time is over. I think that thank you very much for sharing not only your book, but this masterclass about how to manage without problems. And we have some questions. Okay, I'm going to try to translate these questions for you. First one is for someone called Vidal, Narcis Vidal. Okay, and he's asking if you have considered the arrows, the flechas in the book. I think in the visual management.
Exactly. When I mentioned the visual management, when I talk about the visual management, this is what we call the arrow, no? At the end, and it is mentioned in the book. So the arrow try to link what I mentioned, try to force you to understand what is important in your value streams of the businesses, and how can you see, or how can you link with the visual management at the end, or which kind of KPIs and visual management you can install on that. So this is, in fact, this is the arrow. Thank you for
Okay.
the
And
point.
it's one of the 6 important practices that we have talked about.
Exactly. This is one of the 6. This of
Okay,
the,
thank you very much. We have another one. On the current condition,
yeah.
do you promote the identification of the invisible patterns between roles and functions? So this hidden ecosystem, do you promote to identify that as in the current situation, or we can just wipe it and think in the future?
No, I think it's key. It's key to understand, as any diagnosis. No, at the end is clear that you need to understand or to make visible the current state. I would like to say in any practice, we strongly suggest to do that for any practice, to try, if it is invisible, make it visible, try to make it visible, and then start to see, let me say, and build from there, identify the gaps and work and build from there your ideal or future state, no? The same as we do with any value stream map or any, let me say, any practice that we put in place, no? Standardizing work or any of these practices. Yeah. What is important in the point of this invisible, making them visible, no? I think that's the key. How can you see them? Let me say.
So when we talk about visual management, one part is this, how to make visual what is invisible, because
Exactly.
otherwise you cannot manage that. So this is very, very good. Thank you, Colin, for your question. We have another one from Jonathan Caper that says, okay, are the 6 practices, thinking in lean transformation and in lean thinking framework, is this only in the management system, or the 6 practices occupies the full house?
It's a very good question. Thank you for that. Because in fact, there is a picture in the book that I didn't paste on here, but it's spread around the house. So some of the tools are spread around the house, but mainly is focused on the central part. But you will see in there some pictures. For example, for the first question that is to fix the problem that we are trying to solve, I strongly suggest to work in Hoshin Kanri. So really what John Shook is saying is, are you clear on the thing that you want and the problem that you want to solve, but also is really deployed this problem? Is everybody in the organization aligned with this purpose and why we need to work on that? No, so I can say that most of the tools can be spread around helps you to sustain this house, let me say.
Okay, this book is going big, and we have a question from Raúl Díaz Montero that's saying that he's very happy to attend this conference, and when this book is going to be translated in Spanish.
Oh, this book is already first time. It's available. I think I put here the QR. This book is already available in Spanish, in English, and ebook format for both languages. So you have this time. I did the effort to make it from the very beginning the 2 languages. So
Go to your local institute that probably they are very, very, very happy to provide this book to you. Okay, final question, Nestor.
Yeah.
What is the difference between Kata, coaching Kata, and A3 coaching? There is any difference? It's embedded one with the other? How it works?
It's a very good question again, and we have through the practice, I think that they are complementary for sure, but it's nice to see how Kata can provide help inside of each chapter of the 3. Let me say, once you want to experiment countermeasures, Kata can provide maybe some help in each of the chapters of the 3. Can be a way to see it, but for sure it's complementary, because as you can see, Kata also is providing a culture of measurement, of gap analysis. So for me are complementary, but I used to say that they can provide help in each of the chapters of NE3.
Okay, great. So I think that we don't have time for more.
Thank you for
very
the questions, by the way. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have many, many questions that I couldn't not tell you. And really to talk with Nestor is a privilege, because he's one of the probably best thinkers that we have now in LGN. And I have to say that very, very honestly from my side. Well, we went you because we have a lot of very, very interesting stories still going on, more than 23 hours still going there. Take your coffee, take
Exactly.
a lot of
Exactly.
coffee, some food, not too much, because this is bad for your health, and use a lot of good thinking. We're going to wait your show. We're going to present another book in a couple of hours, Hotels and Restaurants book. This is more about the leader, and now the hotels book is more about the practitioner. We talk about hotels, but really we can talk about anything. And we're going to see Nestor again, presentation physically of the book and other important things. So see you soon. Thank you for attending.
Thank you all.
And
Thank you all.